Week 13 is in the books. Week 14 is upon us. These are my SEC Power Rankings entering the final weekend of the 2024 college football season. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. This segment brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com. Use promo code SECU at sign up to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 or more lineup. That's prizepicks.com. Promo code SECU to get your $50 bonus today. Don't look now, but the final weekend of the 2024 college football regular season is officially upon us. And with week 13 in the books, these are my SEC Power Rankings entering rivalry weekend as we pull up each of my selections. And we will start at number 16. Welcome back to the cellar, to the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Jeff Lebby and company, I had a lot of misguided faith in you, a lot of misguided confidence. I took a swing and missed badly when I picked Mississippi State to upset Missouri. More on that in just a moment. I have not lost faith that Jeff Lebby can be the long-term answer there in Starkville, but to call year one anything other than rough, well, calling it rough is putting it lightly to say the least. So again, Mississippi State at 16. They'll try to play spoiler against their arch rival Ole Miss in the Egg Bowl on Friday, but as 26-point favorites, not sure how realistic that is. At number 15, guys, the Kentucky Wildcats. Kentucky, we now know 100% will not make a bowl game after their loss to Texas. And really the theme of this season, guys, for Mark Stoops and company, just bad offense. There are going to be a lot of tough questions, as there should be, to answer for Mark Stoops, Bush Hamden. Why can you not figure it out at quarterback? Brock Vandagriff was one of the biggest flops in the conference this year. They're actually benching him going into the game against Louisville. I mean, if you're Kentucky, guys, they've turned the page, the basketball season at this point, but really, really disappointing year for Big Blue Nation, and they come in at number 15 on my power rankings. At number 14, how about the Oklahoma Sooners? I mean, you talk about one of the most shocking results, really not just of the weekend, but of the entire SEC football season. When you think about just Bama going into that one, you know, with college football playoff hopes and dreams and aspirations and control their own destiny, I don't know that many folks were giving Oklahoma a realistic path to victory. And not only do they win, they beat the Alabama Crimson Tide by 3 touchdowns. Just a really impressive performance. That defense was incredible. They made Jalen Milroe's life a living hell. Shot in the arm for Brent Venables. He's still going to be under pressure next year. Probably you could say on the hot seat, but that was a big one. To secure bowl eligibility, you've got a chance this weekend against LSU. Got to go to their place at night. Tough place to play, but you can get to 7 wins. And to be fair, guys, I don't know there were many people out there that said 7 wins would be anything other than a massive success for OU when you factored in the personnel, the schedule, some of the deficiencies. You can get to 7 wins. That'd still be a pretty solid year 3 for Brent Venables in year 1 in the SEC. Number 13, I got the Missouri Tigers. Guys, I want to stop right here, take a timeout. MIZ, let's have a conversation. I have no bias against you. I don't dislike Missouri. I don't dislike Missouri football. I don't dislike Missouri fans. Quite the contrary. I got nothing but love for MIZ. There's some folks out there in the MIZ community that think I've got this personal vendetta against you or that I hate you. Guys, this is just a power ranking. And I see people talking about, well, this team almost beat number 3. See, that's the problem. That's the problem, is that Mizzou's best performance this year came in a loss. You're hanging your hat on a loss. No disrespect, but that just doesn't do it for me. So Mizzou's going to have an opportunity to move up. And I apologize, by the way, to MIZ for doubting you and picking Mississippi State, but still 13 right now, it feels right to me. Again, you'll have a chance to move up because at number 12, Missouri will take on the Arkansas Razorbacks. The Hogs are bowl eligible under Sam Pittman. They got a chance to get their 7th win against Mizzou this weekend. Of course, beat Louisiana Tech in non-conference last weekend, but the Hogs, it's a long, frustrating streak against MIZ and Eli Drinkwitz. Again, they'd love nothing more than to get that 7th win. Would really solidify. I think Sam Pittman's back either way, but really would solidify Sam Pittman, his return to Fayetteville next season. So a big opportunity for Arkansas and Woo Pig. At number 11, how about the Auburn Tigers? Maybe the performance of the weekend, guys. We knew Auburn was capable of this. This is not a terrible football team, as we've been saying for weeks. They're a pretty solid football team that's been masquerading as a really bad football team. Auburn finally give them credit into the game, made those winning plays, made those winning calls. Jordan Hare was an absolute nut house, an insane asylum. It is haunted. There is voodoo. Say whatever you want. Auburn seems to always be good for one of these games at home at night every single year. They get the job done. And now, Auburn could do the damnedest thing, guys, and walk into Tuscaloosa and for the first time in 14 years in Bryant-Denny Stadium, beat the arch rival in Alabama. I mean, it's been a really rough season in the Plains, but you know what? You find a way to beat Bama, a lot of sins are forgiven if you can do that. So, number 10, I got the Vanderbilt Commodores, guys. They dropped their game to LSU over the weekend. Tough, hard-fought game. I think teams just finally caught up to Diego Pavia and Tim Beck and the offense. Still like Vandy a lot, right? You see them ahead of Auburn because the head-to-head does matter. But Vanderbilt, really interesting game this weekend when they welcome Tennessee to Nashville. I think that's a game that a lot of folks are going to be overlooking. They're just going to be fully expecting Tennessee to go in and handle their business. Who knows? Maybe Diego Pavia has still got more tricks up his sleeve. That'll be one to pay attention to. At number 9, I got the LSU Tigers, guys. Again, LSU got a win they had to get over Vandy in the gold jerseys and all. I do give them credit for bouncing back, finding a way to win that football game. Now you got Oklahoma again. It's been a disappointing season. I totally get it. But you can't let it get off the rails. You got to finish as strong as you can. Brian Kelly said, hey, we're going to be aggressive in the transfer portal. I fully expect them to be buyers, to be spenders, and you'd like to close out this season on as much of a high note as you possibly can. Big one this weekend to close it out against Oklahoma, which kind of weird. LSU doesn't have, they're not partaking really in rivalry weekend because LSU and Oklahoma are not rivals. So, anyways, interesting game, though, Saturday night in Death Valley there in Baton Rouge. Number 8, guys, I got the Texas A&M Aggies. Of course, we just talked about it, fell to Auburn. Here's the thing, guys, I'll say this, because a lot of people want to see a team like A&M fall all the way down to the bottom, or a team like Auburn rise all the way up to the top. This season has shown us you can't do that based off of one game. You just can't do it. A&M dropped, Auburn rose, but it is just one game. I think you're going to see a completely different A&M on Saturday against Texas. I really do. I really do. I just, guys, the league has been so week to week this year, and I think A&M walked into a perfect storm, man. Again, Jordan Hare at night, an Auburn team that was kind of due for a breakout moment. I mean, I wanted to pick Auburn in the game. I went Texas A&M, but I just had to see it from Auburn that, again, they could make those big plays down the stretch. They finally did. Give them credit. You know, it's going to be a fun week at practice for the A&M defense, shoring some things up. But again, coming back home, backs against the wall, you still control your destiny, which is absolutely crazy. A&M can still get to the SEC championship, and they can technically still get to the college football playoff as well. So a lot on the line with the Lone Star Showdown this weekend. More on that one in just a second. Guys, at number 7, I've got the Alabama Crimson Tide. You talk about somebody that's going to have an uncomfortable offseason. Now, listen, here's the crazy thing. There's still a way for Alabama to back their way into the playoff, even after losing to Oklahoma. You got to beat Auburn, obviously. And if you don't beat Auburn, buddy, you talk about a rough offseason. They're not going to fire Kalen DeBoer by any means, and I think anybody saying that is just kind of crazy, but woof, man. You better go out there and beat Auburn if you're Kalen DeBoer. I can tell you that right now. So you got to stop putting so much on Jalen Milroe. They're just it's sort of right now where they're putting so much on him. If he plays poorly, they have no chance. They got to find some running game. They got to find some other things. Defense has got to be shored up. There's going to be some changes in Tuscaloosa. There's no question. There are going to be changes this offseason, whether it's Kane Womack's going to get the axe. I mean, I fully expect to see changes within Kalen DeBoer's staff. At number 6, I've got the Florida Gators, the biggest risers this week. Man, give all the credit in the world to Billy Napier, the job he's done, keeping that team together. Guys, they got a 7-win season on the horizon. If they can just take care of their business, beat Florida State, which, I mean, to me, Florida State feels kind of lifeless. So, and I think we all would agree, guys. We all would have agreed a 7-5 season with their schedule, the gauntlet of all gauntlets, and you lost your starting quarterback midway through the season, it's been a hell of a job. I don't know if Billy Napier is the long-term answer to win an SEC title or win a national championship, but you do have to give a lot of credit for Billy Napier keeping this thing together, keeping this team bought in, and really impressive back-to-back wins against Ole Miss and LSU. Speaking of Ole Miss, I've got the Ole Miss Rebels at number 5. Listen, people are going to say, how in the world can you have Ole Miss ahead of Florida? They just played and Florida beat them. Guys, because again, I just had Ole Miss at 2. I'm not putting Florida in the top 5. I'm not doing it. And on a neutral site, guys, I'd pick Ole Miss again. I really would. And I don't know how, I don't care how that sounds to people, but I would pick Ole Miss again on a neutral field, which is a lot of what these power rankings are. With that being said, though, the most disappointing team in the league. I mean, you had it there for the taking. You controlled your destiny, and you tripped just before you got to the finish line. So, they got a big one this weekend with the Egg Bowl, but how big is it really for the Ole Miss side? Like, do they really care? What's the motivation level? A lot of guys on that roster ain't from Mississippi, and they don't really give a damn about the Egg Bowl. So I'll be curious to see how Ole Miss responds. I don't think they'll lose, but a 26-point spread, I don't see Ole Miss covering that. I could be wrong, but I don't see it happening. Guys, at number 4, I've got the Tennessee Volunteers. They took care of their cupcake over the weekend, got their rivalry game against Vandy upcoming. Maybe nobody in the SEC had a better weekend from the standpoint of things they needed and wanted to happen for their college football playoff hopes. Because we were just talking, guys, last week that Tennessee, more than likely, it felt like was going to be that team from the outside looking in was going to be left out. Well, Ole Miss losing to Florida, Bama losing to OU opens the door wide open for the Tennessee Volunteers. I think they will be in that projected 12-team playoff when the latest rankings come out. Number 3, I've got the South Carolina Gamecocks. I continue to get pushback for this, guys. South Carolina, they have the longest winning streak in the SEC at 5 games. They are one of the hottest teams in college football. Now, they got a big opportunity this weekend, going to Clemson, facing the Clemson Tigers in a game that also could have postseason implications on both sides of that rivalry. But, guys, I mean, who wants to play South Carolina right now? Really, truly, who wants to play South Carolina right now? With the way Lenora Sellers, I think the most improved player from week 1 to week 14, the way that defense with Kyle Kennard and Dylan Stewart and Demetrius Knight and Debo Williams, and I mean, they have been incredible this season. The running game with Rocket Sanders, the evolution of the wide receivers. South Carolina, one of the best teams in the SEC right now, and I put them at 3. Number 2, I did slide Georgia back up in the 2 spot, guys. It feels wrong to have Georgia anywhere not in the 1 or the 2 spot. This is the only argument, and Georgia, by the way, has punched their ticket to the SEC title. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Georgia runs the SEC still. Until we see if Texas goes to the SEC title, if they beat A&M and beats them, then sure, we can have a different conversation. But the Georgia Bulldogs, again, the more things change, the more they stay the same. They took care of their cupcake over the weekend. They got Georgia Tech on Friday night. Could be kind of an interesting game. I think it could be closer than maybe even what Vegas is saying, but Georgia well on their way. Again, ticket punched already to Atlanta, and the Dogs will find themselves back in the SEC title. And a number 1, guys, I've got the Texas Longhorns. Saw Texas over the weekend. The defense is championship caliber. If they can get – this team's ceiling is controlled by Quinn Ewers. And now could be a little bit banged up going into College Station. We'll see how that plays out. But I've had Texas in this 1 spot for a few weeks, guys. I like Texas in this 1 spot. I'm not a doubter of Texas like so many. They haven't played anybody. Texas is the only team, guys, this season in the SEC that has not vomited all over themselves. And I think we got to give credit for that. So Texas still at number 1. But again, of course, guys, going into week 14, when we talk this time next week, these rankings will shuffle. It is inevitable. So again, when you look at my power rankings, guys, do you agree? Do you disagree? How would you power rank the teams of the SEC entering the final weekend of the 2024 college football season? Guys, that's going to do all for me. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Again, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, you can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. Until next time, guys, I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we will catch you on the other side.